Hey guys, Alfonso Gomez, your realtor, your friend. So I wanted to take a moment and talk to you specifically about when a seller in a transaction to buy or sell a home, when a seller decides not to sell. And I'm talking about after an offer has been accepted. So we talked recently about what happens if a buyer breaches the contract. The seller has the right, if the buyer released all contingencies, to keep their deposit, earnest money deposit. But let's flip this around and let's talk about what happens if a seller decides not to go forward with the sale. That's a problem. That's a big problem. The fact of the matter is, a seller has very little reasonings to back out of the contract. Per the contract, the seller really has no legit reason to back out. They advertised the house, they accepted an offer, and they can't back out now. So what happens if the seller does push the envelope and say, I'm not selling, after they accepted and executed a legal purchase contract? So what happens is this. The buyer now has the option to let the deal cancel. The buyer has the option to, one, let the deal cancel, move on with their life, get their money back, of course. Or they can sue the seller for specific performance. That means that they will take the seller to court and force the sale of the home. So it's probably going to be messy. It's probably going to be expensive, but typically the losing party will have to pay for legal costs. So again, there are very few to no reasons. I actually don't know any reason a seller can actually back out of a deal once it's been executed. I recently had a situation, believe it or not, where the seller didn't know that there was a second lien on the property that was a huge amount. They thought it was a small amount, but it was a huge amount. Apparently they hadn't been making payments, so I'm not sure why they didn't know. But they didn't know it was that much. It was they didn't know that they owed that much. So what happened? Well, they're asking to cancel because they can't afford it. They're upside down at this point. They can't afford to pay the difference because they're selling it at a certain amount that the debts supersede that sales price. So in that case, the seller technically cannot provide the house. Who's going to pay the difference? I'm sure the buyer's not going to pay the difference. The seller doesn't want to pay the difference. So what happens then? Well, then the buyer has the option to, again, sue for damages. Let's assume, for this case, that the buyer already paid for an inspection and appraisal, already invested money into the property. Well, they can add all those costs out of their pocket up and sue them for damages. Because they can't sue for performance. The seller legally can't deliver the property because he owes more money than what it's worth. Again, if you're thinking of selling, please make sure you're not going to back out. Now, life happens, and believe me, I've been through the scenarios where life happens, divorce happens, accidents happen. Never really had a strong enough buyer to say, I'm going to sue you for those life incidents, but they do have the option. Everybody typically will walk away and lick their wounds. Okay, so with that being said, sellers have very little reason to back out. Sellers, don't back out. You might get sued. Anyway, hope that helps. Have any questions, you can always contact me anytime. Alfonso Gomez, your realtor, and I'm looking forward to doing my next deal with you. Thanks.